From the land of 10,000 lakes and just as many heartaches, welcome to the 301 Show. We're here to celebrate, commiserate, and maybe, just maybe, see a Minnesota team win it all. Whether you're dreaming of a Vikings Super Bowl, reliving the glory days of the Twins, or still recovering from the Timberwolves roller coaster, we've got you covered. This is the 301 Show, where the North remembers and the passion never fades.
All right, yes, welcome into the 301 Show, episode number 12. We've got some big news here to go over today. The first big news is we may have an ownership update for the Twins. At least there's rumors swirling. Then the Vikings coming off a divisional opponent game and looking forward to the last 3 weeks of the season. The Timberwolves may or may not have turned things around. We will discuss further. And the Wild, little bit of a stumble this week, but they are still an absolute wagon from the lead they built up earlier this season. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, let's get into the Target Field talkers here. We got some quite a bit of big news. First one is that Carlos Correa, there are reports that he may want to be traded. He may be traded. He has a cap hit of, not a cap hit because there is no salary cap in the MLB, but he has a salary of $37 million in 2025. And according to Bobby Nightingale at the Star Tribune, Derek Falvey was to talk to him about moving Carlos Correa, and they said that they have been kicking around creative ideas and that it would take a high bar to trade Correa, Buxton, or Lewis, or any of those important players for this Twins team to succeed. But the fact that he said that he and the other people of the front office have been kicking around quote unquote creative ideas suggests to me that they have at least talked about it and that they have brought up what it would take to say yes to a Carlos Correa trade. It was very clear at the end of last year that Carlos Correa wasn't happy with how the season ended. I don't think anyone was on that team. I don't think they should be either. Like that end of last year was horrendous. Now I know they played the Red Sox and they played Baltimore and they had some tough opponents at the end of the year, but it seemed like even against those tough teams and even against teams, I think they played like the Angels towards the end of the year. I can't remember exactly how early that was in the early in September that was, but they just seemed to not care. And it honestly seemed like Rocco had completely lost the clubhouse. This is almost exactly what we were seeing over in St. Paul when Dean Evison completely lost the Wild's locker room. And they just didn't want to play for it. Maybe they didn't want to play for him, but maybe it was they either didn't want to play for him or they just didn't care about the season anymore. And Correa has every right to be mad. He also has every right to be mad that the front office didn't go out and make moves. At the trade deadline, they made one move at the trade deadline, and I even forget who it was for, but he was sent down to the Saints 2 weeks after they traded for him. That's not that very clearly at the time was not enough for this team, because at the time, at the end of July, they were in a position to still catch Cleveland for the division title. They were in a position to go out and win their second straight division, build on the playoff success that they had last year. And the front office just didn't want to do it. And now, I'm not blaming the front office completely, because I do think some of that has to do with the Polads and the Polads not wanting to spend money on players, like them saying, hey, we're going to slash payroll, definitely had a big deal. That was a massive deal to the Twins team and Twins fans. Like, not seeing the success that team had, and then last year, and then not going out and trying to improve on that team was a brutal decision to make for this front office and ownership group. Now, I know they had trouble with Bally and they didn't have all that, but that shouldn't matter. I know it does, but these sports teams should be treated differently than a normal, like a different type of business. Like, you should not be an ownership group in sports if you are just going to be here to make a profit. Like, not many sports teams make a profit year to year, especially in the MLB. The other teams, the NFL teams, the NBA teams, these leagues, other leagues, NHL, that have a salary cap. Part of the salary cap, there's two reasons the salary cap is there. One is the reason that they state, and it's to make, teams more competitive. They want more parity. They don't want, what the Dodgers are doing and just going out and buying every single player on the market. But the other reason is because the owners don't want to lose money. It is impossible for the owners in the NFL, like the Wilfs or Craig Leopold for the Wild, or whoever, ends up being the owner, Glenn Taylor, or the A-Rod Laurie group. It's impossible for them to lose money on their teams year to year, because those salary caps are in place specifically for them to not lose money. Like, the NFL salary cap is like $230 million or something like that. You think the Vikings are making less than $230 million a year? Absolutely not. And they're not spending enough money on the other areas of the team, like the coaching and then the facilities, the other parts of the business, to not, to make it so that they're losing money on that. The Twins, because they don't have a salary cap in the MLB, don't have that luxury. But the Polads look at this as, hey, we need to make money on this. And that I just think that is the wrong attitude to have for a professional sports team's like ownership group. Now, the other big news here is that we do have our first candidate to buy the Twins. There is a new, again, it's just rumors right now. They've expressed interest in it, is all the rumors say. So that doesn't mean that they will necessarily buy the team or even make an offer on the team. They have just reportedly been in talks, and maybe not even been in talks, but they have publicly expressed interest in it. And that is the Ishba brothers. Justin and Matt Ishba, they are the owners of the Phoenix Suns, and it is Justin Ishba that is the brother that is most interested in buying the Twins specifically. He is the minority owner of the Suns. Matt Ishba is the majority owner. Now, I think these guys buying the Twins would be absolutely amazing. I just want to go over this real quick. Maybe it won't be quick. Maybe it will, maybe not. But I want to go over this three things that have happened with the ISHBA. So they agreed to buy the Suns in December of 2022. The league approved it, and the transaction officially went through on February 6th, 2023. On February 9th, 2023, so literally 3 days after they bought the Phoenix Suns, they went out and traded 4 first-round picks and a first-round pick swap for Kevin Durant and TJ Warren. Like 3 days after they officially took the reins of the Phoenix Suns, they were making moves. Now, a couple months later, this is June 24th, 2023, they went out and traded away Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, 4 future first-round pick swaps, and 6 future second-round picks for Bradley Beal, Jordan Goodwin, and Isaiah Todd. Now, you can say whatever you want about how good those NBA players are. I know this is in the Target Field Talker segment with the MLB team here in Minnesota, but and I also know the Ishba brothers are not the ones going out and making these moves, but they are okay with their front office, the front office that they hired. They trust them, and they are okay with them going out and making moves like this. Like, that is exactly what we want out of new Twins owners. Like, Twins fans were complaining last offseason, about a year ago, about this time, maybe a little bit earlier than this, but around this time last year, we were all up in arms about the Twins, cutting payroll by $30 million. This attitude out of an ownership group is a complete 180 from where the Pohlads are ending their tenure with the Twins. Like, they are okay. They want to win. The Ishbas with the Suns want to be the ones raising the Larry O'Brien trophy at the end of the year. I think if they bought the Twins, they'd want to be raising, I think it's called the Commissioner's Trophy, whatever it is, in the MLB. They want to be the ones raising that in late October, early November. And I think if they did, if they bought the Twins have a way better opportunity to actually be the ones at the end of the year raising that trophy than if the Pohlads stay and as the ownership group of the Twins. I love this. I would love this to happen. I want this to happen so much. Because they are okay with massive deals like this. So, that is all of the ownership news and the, hot stove off-season trade talk news we have for the Twins right now. Some massive news there, but, we will have a, we will get into predictions now. Let me pull that up really quick here. All right, so we will get the owner or the predictions here. I do not have anything off the board again. All of my predictions will be are pushed out to this upcoming season. But when it actually starts in, I think it's late March. So for right now, my 3 new predictions for this episode is that Royce Lewis's first hit in 2025 will be a home run. Whenever that might not be his first at bat, his first plate appearance, but whenever his first hit comes in 2025, he will be circling the bases on his batted ball. Second prediction is that Griffin Jacks will have a sub-3 ERA for the 2025 regular season. So in the last year, 2024 regular season, he had a 2.0 something ERA, and that was the first time he had a sub-3 ERA in his career. I think he repeats that success and has a sub-3 ERA again this year. Maybe not as low, like almost flirting with a sub-2 ERA, but he will for sure have a sub-3 ERA again in 2025. And my final prediction here is that, based off of what we just talked about, my final prediction is that the Ishbas will be the ones to buy the Twins. I don't know when that'll happen, but they will be the next majority owners of the Minnesota Twins. All right, let's get into the Wolves' den here, where the Timberwolves won 2 games. There are only 2 games this past week. They won this past Friday 97-87 against the Lakers. Ant put up 23 points in 33 minutes with 6 rebounds, 1 steal, and 1 block. Anthony Davis in 36 minutes put up 23 points as well. He had 11 rebounds, no steals, and 3 blocks. So that game went very well for the Timberwolves. Again, LeBron did not play in that game, but they were still able to shut down the best Laker players. The Timberwolves were able to shut down the Lakers offensively very well, and the trend continues where they continue to win these games by playing just outstanding defense. And the defense playing great just means that they are working together a lot better defensively. They're looking more like they did last year than the beginning of the year. Now, a couple days later on Sunday, they traveled to San Antonio and took on Wemby and the Spurs. They won again, 106-92, again holding their opponents under 95 points. That seems to be the magic number this year, is the Wolves can always score more than 90 points in a game, but they will be able to hold their opponents to under 95 points. And that game, Ant only played 28 minutes. I'm assuming he took some time off. Finch started to pull people at the end to not have them get hurt, but he played 28 minutes, put up 26 points and 5 rebounds. Wemby, in 33 minutes, only put up 20 points, but he came down with 12 rebounds and blocked 7. So he is just an absolute defensive juggernaut. I'm sure everyone agreed after just seeing him last year. So 2 very solid Timberwolves basketball wins, which is very strange to say, considering that 2 years ago they were awful on defense. And it seemed like they were losing games 2 years ago, 140 to 120. Like they score 120 points and still get blown out. But now they are, last year and this year, they are playing fantastically on the defensive side of the ball. We've got some statistics later on here that will back that up. Looking ahead to this upcoming week, big game tomorrow night, Thursday the 19th. I'm recording this on Wednesday the 18th. They take on, at home, the New York Knicks. So Cats return to Minnesota after the trade a couple days before the season started. Big reunion game there. I'm sure Cat will be emotional coming back here. I'm sure there'll be a lot of reunions, and we will see how that game goes. They also play a couple days later on Saturday at home against Golden State, and then they play on Monday the 23rd in Atlanta, and before their holiday break there. I actually don't think they get a holiday break, as they The NBA does play on Christmas Day. So the Timberwolves now, let's get into some of these team rankings. Not a ton to talk about with these Timberwolves. Obviously, you could go deeper into this potential matchup here. I'm sure we'll dive deeper into the Knicks Wolves matchup once it happens. But let's dive into the team rankings. They have played 25 games thus far this season. They are 14-11, so 3 games above 500. They are third West in their division, 7th in the Western Conference, so they moved up a couple spots. Points for per game, they are tied for 22nd with a 109.8, so their offensive struggles do continue a little bit. Field goal percentage, they are sitting at 18th in the league with 45.9%. From 3, they're at 37.1%, 14th in the entire league. Free throw percentage continues to be pretty good. They're in the top third of the league, tied for 7th at 79.4%. Rebounds per game, down at the bottom of the league, 24th with 42.8. Blocks per game, they are tied for 20th at 4.8 blocks per game. Turnover differential, this is the big one. They won 2 games, but now they are down to minus 0.1 on the turnover differential per game, which is 15th in the league. So they are now turning the ball over more. That is not acceptable there for a championship. If you're trying to contend for a championship, you want to be obviously taking the ball away more than you're giving it up. And obviously time of possession isn't everything, but at the same time, you still generally win more games when you have the ball in your hands. Points against per game, they're third in the entire NBA at 105.6. So they are a plus 4.2 point differential per game. Then field goal against, the field goal percentage against is 7th in the entire league at 45.4%. Shooting percentage against from 3 per game is 1/3, so 33.3%, which is second lowest in the entire NBA. So great job of not letting them put up many shots there. They are a top 5 team in points against and then shooting percentage, if you average all of those out. Rebounds against per game, they are 43 rebounds against per game, which is 9th in the entire NBA. And then blocks against per game, they are getting blocked at 4.8 times per game, which is 11th fewest in the NBA. So yeah, the defense continues to look great. The offense, not so much. I would not be surprised, honestly, if Julius Randle was gone by the trade deadline. I might have to predict that in the future. Do not have that in my predictions here today. But let's move on to the predictions. Let's see. I had one come off the board, and it came off the board in a technicality. I said that in their matchup against the Lakers this past Friday, that Anthony Edwards will score more points than LeBron. Now, this does come off the board because LeBron did not play, so therefore he had 0 points in the game. So that does come off the board as correct. For my Wolves Den predictions here, now I'm up to 4 out of 17 predictions correct for 24% on the year. As for my 3 predictions coming off the board, or going on the board this week, I'm going to make 3 predictions about Cat's return to Minnesota. I'm going to say the first one is that Ant will outscore Cat. The second one is the Wolves beat the Knicks by 10 or more points. And Cat will foul out of this game. So I'm predicting all three of those. Ant outscores Cat. Wolves win by 10 or more. And Cat will not end the game. In the game, he will foul out. All right, now let's move to the Nordic Report here. And the Vikings played the Bears on Monday Night Football this past week. Vikings usually have problems with the Bears on Monday night. Maybe that was just the Kirk Cousins era. But the Vikings did beat the Bears at home 30-12. They improve to 12-2 on the year. They sweep the Bears. Not only that, but they sweep the Bears this year, winning both games, scoring 30 points in both games. Sam Darnold went 24 of 40 for 231, one passing touchdown and one interception. Justin Jefferson and Keenan Allen of the Bears both had receiving touchdowns. The only two rushing touchdowns both came from the Vikings' two running backs, one for Aaron Jones and one for Cam Akers. And then there were 5 field goals made in the game. Cairo Santos from 29 and 39, and Will the Thrill Reichert, he is back, from 52, 31, and 46. Do you want to give a game ball for this game out? And we can dive into it a little bit more. But game ball, first honorable mention goes to Josh Metellus. He had 10 tackles in the game. This one isn't really about his statistics. He did have 10 tackles, though. And the big part, the reason I want to give him an honorable mention is he has been playing well at the linebacker position, filling in for the injured Ivan Pace Jr. Josh Metellus is a defensive back. They're built like a defensive back. And he has been stepping up the last few games massively for Ivan Pace. Second honorable mention goes to Dallas Turner. He had 3 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 tackle for loss. But number one, this is a game ball for this past game and kind of the entire season. Number one goes to Blake Cashman, who had 8 tackles in the game, kind of similar to Josh Metellus, because this isn't really about his statistics last night. But Blake Cashman, they are 11-0. The Vikings are 11-0 when Blake Cashman is healthy and playing his normal amount of reps. They're 11-0 when he is healthy. They are 1-2 when he is hurt. So it is a fantastic sign here for the Vikings to have him healthy. I thought the defense looked, honestly, probably better than the offense did. I thought the defense allowed a late touchdown when the game was kind of out of reach already. But outside of that touchdown, they only allowed 2 field goals. They allowed 12 points the entire year or the entire game. With the touchdown, Bears did attempt a 2-point conversion, and that one failed. But I thought the defense looked great this past week for the Vikings. And with the Bills now losing to the the Bills beating the Lions, the Vikings control their own destiny at this point. If the Vikings win out, which would include a Week 18 win against the Lions, if the Vikings win out, they would win the division, because they would have, the Lions would be 14-3, the Vikings would be 15-2, and it does not. But let's say the Eagles also win out. That would not matter, because the tiebreaker for the 1 seed goes to the Vikings, because the first tiebreaker, I think there's 3 or 4 tiebreakers that they are both tied on. And so it goes to the 4th or 5th tiebreaker, which is strength of victory, which the Vikings hold over the Eagles. So if the Vikings win out they will get the 1 seed in the NFC and earn a first round bye. So that is why these last 3 games are all massive games here for the Vikings, and especially the last game of the year against the Lions, which that could hold implications of, do you travel on the road in the first round of the playoffs? That could be for the division, even if we lose one of these next 2 games against the Seahawks or the Packers. With how depleted that Detroit defense is at this point due to all their injuries, they could easily lose another game. They play the Packers too. I think that's this week. They could very easily lose one more game. Now, if we lose one game and they win one of the, or if we lose one of the next 2 and the Lions win both of the next 2, we can't get the 1 seed because we need to have a better record than the Lions, because it would come down to common opponent, victories against common opponents, and we have, would have a victory against the Rams, which we lost to the Rams, and they would also have a victory over the Packers and the Seahawks too, potentially. So we need to not be in a tie with the Lions going into the last week if we want any chance at the division title. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, and let's look at this Vikings-Seahawks game coming up at 3 o'clock on Sunday. It is one of the later afternoon games. So first and foremost, Geno Smith is questionable for the Seahawks. Michael Sean Dugar of The Athletic writes, the Seahawks hope to have Geno practice throughout the week. So it looks like he is probably going to start this game. But they also have Sam Howell as the backup. So I think that the Vikings are in very good position here in terms of opposing quarterback, because either you get Sam Howell, I guess, or Jaren Hall. That is where Jaren Hall ended up, was the Seattle Seahawks. So you either have Sam Howell or Jaren Hall starting, or a not 100% healthy Geno Smith. Now, Geno Smith at 100% very easily could beat the Vikings, but he is not 100%. So I think that they are going to struggle either at Geno Smith not fully at 100% or Sam Howell as the starter. I think the Seahawks will struggle this game. 2 massive injury updates for the Vikings. First one is Ivan Pace Jr. It sounds like he will be back at the earliest for the playoffs, so don't count on him for the last 3 regular season games. Would be great if he was back, but just don't hold your breath about Ivan Pace Jr. in the regular season. Second bit of update is it sounds like Brian O'Neill is trending in the right position, or the right direction, to come back at right tackle. That would be fantastic because he is the best offensive lineman we have right now, because Darisaw is hurt for the rest of the year. So he needs to be back here to hold down this offensive line for the Vikings. Vikings' all-time record against the Seahawks is 6-12, so they have really struggled against the Seahawks. They won their last game back in 2021 when Russell Wilson was still the quarterback of the Seahawks. Vikings do have the last win, but before that, they were on a 6-game losing streak against the Seahawks. So that includes that game back in 2020 where they went for it on 4th down. I think it was Madison could not convert the 4th and 1 when they could have just kicked a field goal. And Russell Wilson drove all the way down and scored a last-second touchdown to win the game. Let's go over some team rankings now. Like I said, 12-2 in through 14 games this year. They are technically second in the NFC North, because the Lions do hold the tiebreaker right now. They're tied for the best record in the NFC North, best record in the NFC, but they are still the 5th seed in the NFC because of tiebreakers with the Lions, and then obviously the 4 division winners get the top 4 seeds. So they are still the 5 seed in the NFC right now. As for the offense, yards per game is 349.8, which is 12th. Points per game is 26.4, which is tied for 8th. On third downs, they are converting 40.9% of the time, up 61 out of 149 opportunities. That is 10th best in the NFL. On fourth down, they're still at 5 out of 8, which is tied for 14th. That hasn't changed over the last couple of weeks. They haven't needed to go for it on fourth down over the last couple of weeks. Defensively, 334 yards against per game. That is 13th in the entire NFL. Points allowed per game is 18.0 points per game, which is 4th fewest in the NFL. On third down, other teams are converting at a 34.4% rate, 63 times out of 183 attempts, which is tied for 4th fewest in the NFL. On fourth down, the Vikings continue to dominate on fourth down defensively. They are 19. They have stopped opponents 19 out of 29 times, which is a 34.5% conversion rate, which is number one lowest in the NFL. That is 10 conversions out of 29 attempts for 34.5%. As for the special teams field goals, they are 18 for 32, which is 87.5%. That is 58. The 58-yarder is still the long Will Reichard against Houston. And they are 39 of 40 on the PAT. John Parker Romo was still the only PAT miss. That is 97.5%. So the Vikings this week, all 3 predictions came off the board. I said that Justin Jefferson scores at least 1 touchdown against the Bears. He did. That, might I add, that was a very cool moment. A couple very cool moments coming against the Bears there. That was one of them. Justin Jefferson's touchdown celebration was one of them, paying tribute to Randy Moss. He is dealing with cancer. So thoughts and prayers from the 301 show go out to the greatest Viking wide receiver in franchise history. And then the other really cool moment was the 2 former receivers carrying out the Randy Moss jersey for the coin toss. So absolutely cool to see. By the way, Justin Jefferson's celebration, he did the gritty and screamed into the ESPN camera. That one's for you, Randy. We love you. Then continuing with the 3 predictions that came off the board here, I said Caleb Williams will get sacked 4+ times and or intercepted 2+ times against the Vikings. That one was incorrect. Said Harrison Smith will get an interception against the Bears. That one was also incorrect. So the Nordic Report predictions here are, I am now 9 for 23, and that is 39% on the year. Do have 3 new ones for this week's episode, and this week's I've got 2 that will come off the board against the Seahawks, and then 1 more is the rest of the year, regular season and postseason. Let's actually start with that one. I said I'm going to say that Andrew Van Ginkel will get another pick 6, either in the last 3 regular season games or in however many postseason games they play this year. He will get another pick 6, not just an interception, but a full-on pick 6. Second prediction is that the Vikings will win by 6 or more points against the Seahawks. And then my final prediction of this episode is that, final prediction, at least for the Nordic Report of this episode, will be that TJ Hawkinson will score a touchdown against the Seahawks. All right, now let's move on to our final segment here today, the Rinkside Rundown. The Wild had a bit of a rough week this week. Last Thursday, on the 12th, they lost at home massively to the Edmonton Oilers. They lost 7-1 against the Oilers. The Oilers had 7 different goal scorers in that game. Gustafsson got pulled after the second after stopping only 21 out of 26 shots. Fleury came in for the third period and saved 7 of 9. Now, Freddie ended up getting the only goal of the game. It was originally given to Brock Faber. That came back to bite me in the butt on my predictions. Then on Saturday, the 14th, a couple days later, they got a massive 4-1 win. The big three forwards, Marco Rossi, Matt Boldy, and Kirill Kaprizov, each scored. Kirill ended up having 2 of the 4 goals. Boldy and Rossi got the other 2. Fleury looked absolutely stellar against his former cross-state rival Philadelphia Flyers. He seems to do well against them. Now the Flyers also aren't that good this year. But he stopped 21 out of 22 shots that he faced. Then the next day, maybe tired, but they were playing another team that was coming off of a back-to-back, the Vegas Golden Knights, where they lost 3-2. Kirill scored both goals. Victor Olofsson there for the Vegas Golden Knights had 2 of the 3 goals for Vegas. Jesper Wallstedt got his first start of the year because Gus Bus is listed as day-to-day. I have not heard any new news about him. Let's can look that up real quick. But I thought that Wallstedt looked pretty good in his season opener. I don't think there was anything too bad about it. And let's see here, Pro Hockey Rumors on the 17th, which was yesterday, said that Philip Gustafsson did not practice yesterday and that Marc-Andre Fleury will get the start tonight against the Panthers, and he will have Wallstedt backing him up. He also said that Joe Smith tweeted that the Wild head coach, John Haynes, John Haynes thinks that this is not a long-term injury, so Gustafsson will be back relatively shortly. So hopefully that is the case, because Gustafsson has been a stellar goaltender this year. Philip Gustafsson is on track to at least be a finalist for the Vezina Trophy this year, and he is one of the 2 reasons that the Wild have been as good as they have been. The other one named Kirill Kaprizov. So if he is out, we either need Flower and Wally to step up massively, or for Gustafsson to just come back soon. As I mentioned momentarily there, the Wild play tonight at home against Florida at 8:30 p.m. That is a late game because it is a nationally televised game on TNT. Then they have a day off, and then they play Friday at 7 p.m. against the Utah Hockey Club. So their second time playing against the Utah Hockey Club. First time the Utah Hockey Club comes here to play. Obviously, all the players were in Arizona, so they have been playing here for a while, but first time they've come here officially as the Utah Hockey Club. Then on Saturday the 21st, the Wild travel to Winnipeg to play the Winnipeg Jets. And then they are back home on Monday, the 23rd, against Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks. So should be a good week here, a test to see really where they're at, if this was a fluke start or if they are actually as good as advertised for the beginning of the year. They play the defending champs, what I think is a better Utah team than they are, playing right now, than the number one team in the league record-wise, the Winnipeg Jets, and a budding superstar who may be struggling a little bit this year, but is going to be, the next generation of superstar in the NHL. Let's go over some team rankings here, and I know Gus Bus is hurt, but we have a Gus Bus ranking here. We can go over that one really quick. He has 14, 5-3 on the year. He is tied for third in save percentage. He is tied for third in goals against average at 2.24. In save percentage, he is third at .922. So he is a top 3 goalie in both of those main statistics that goalies have. As for the team rankings, they are 27-4 with 44 points. They sit second in the Central Division and second in the Western Conference, both only behind the Winnipeg Jets, who they play coming up here this weekend. Goals for per game, they're sitting at 3.13, which is 13th in the league. They've given up 2.52 goals against per game, which is second. They have 2 shutouts on the year. Both of those were Gustafsson. That is tied for 10th in the NHL. Power play is sitting at a 19.0% rate, which is 19th in the NHL. I'm going to save the PK because I want to go on a rant about that again here. The face-offs is sitting at 49%, winning 49%, which is 23rd. Shots per game is 18th at 28.6. Shots against per game is 29.3, which is 20th in the league. Now, the penalty kill, I feel like I'm just repeating myself at this point, but I do have a little bit of a mini rant. They're at 70.7% on the penalty kill, which is 30th in the NHL. That needs to get cleaned up, especially if Gustafsson is going to be out for, longer than John Hines says he's going to be out. Like, the penalty kill needs to be better if your 2 goaltenders are a rookie and a 40-year-old future Hall of Famer. I know he is a future Hall of Famer, but he is 40 years old this year. Your penalty kill absolutely needs to be better, even with your Vezina Trophy winning goaltender in the net. But if you're having to rely on these two, the rookie and the 40-year-old for like a month, that penalty kill needs to absolutely be better. It doesn't matter who you have. Your goaltender is supposed to be your best penalty killer on the ice. He absolutely should be. But that doesn't mean that you can't have any good penalty killers in front of him. Like, it shouldn't be the goalie is your best. It shouldn't be the Billy Bean quote. We've got our goalie is our best penalty killer. Then we've got 50 feet of you-know-what. And then we have everybody else. Like, that should never happen here. Like, I don't know if we need to get Darby Hendrickson back here or what. But we need a better penalty kill, especially if we want to compete for an actual Stanley Cup, which, again, I did not think was possible this offseason. This offseason, I actually thought the 40-year-old and the rookie were going to be our goaltending tandem the rest of this year, or for the entire season. I didn't think, though, we would be contending for possibly contending for the President's Trophy. I thought that this was going to be a good experience learning season here for, the Great Wall of St. Paul, Jesper Wallstedt. But we are actually able to have success this year and potentially go on a run. I want to go on a run. we were going to be able to, I thought this was a 1 year, let's take another step back so that next year when the salary cap opens up with the Suter and Parisi buyouts coming off the books, we can re-sign Kirill and we can go out and get somebody else or maybe a couple other players. But the penalty kill has to be better because this year we are actually a good team. We are a good team this year. The Wild are a good team. And we just, it's frustrating to see when there is a very obvious problem here. And it doesn't seem like the front office or the coaching staff is doing anything to address it. I'm sure they are. I'm sure every time they work on special teams, I'm sure they're working on special teams more now because they need to clean up they know they need to clean up the penalty kill. But they it's not, whatever they are doing is not working. And I don't claim to have all the answers. I don't. Look at my predictions percentage correct. I clearly do not have the answer. But I know that something needs to change on the penalty kill. Come out with different line combinations. Go out and trade for someone that's a defensive forward. Now, it definitely does not help that your best defensive forward is hurt and Joel Eriksson Ek. That definitely does not help. But you also need to be able to go out and put a good penalty kill. Like being at 30th in the entire NHL when we are like almost 40% of the way through the season is not because Joel Eriksson Ek was hurt for a couple games. That is an entire season issue. There would be no penalties in the NHL if you were able to drop from a top 10 penalty kill unit to a bottom 3 penalty kill unit because one player has been hurt for a couple weeks. That is mathematically impossible unless it is the beginning of the year. So there's no reason to even nitpick like the faceoffs being 23rd in the NHL. The shots against being 20th in the NHL. There's no reason, even the power play being sub 20%. There's no reason to nitpick any of those things if the penalty kill, because it does not matter if the penalty kill is just going to give up 30,000 goals. So that is my number one frustration, and it will be my number one frustration until they fix it. I thought for a while there, I went to the game against Montreal. They killed off, I think at that point they had killed off like 12 straight penalties. I thought they were turning a corner. And that's the most frustrating part of all of this, is that they can do it. They have proven that this season they can do it. They just aren't doing it consistently. So, again, I don't know what the actual answer is, because if I did, I would be a penalty kill specialist coach in the NHL right now. If I had the magic answer that fixed every penalty kill was you never allowed a power play goal, I would not be sitting behind this microphone doing anything. I would be hired by an NHL team running the penalty kill unit. So I don't know. Something needs to change on the penalty kill. I don't want to have to keep repeating myself on this podcast either. I don't want to have to come out here and say every week, oh, the penalty kill is in the low 70s, high 60s, and they are in the bottom third of the league. I don't like having to spend a bunch of this time talking about it every week either. But it has to be talked about because it is the thing that they are by far. It also would be different too if they had something else that was also not great. Not even not great, but they were bad at. Like, it's not that they're not great at the penalty kill. They are straight up bad at the penalty kill. Like, I get scared when the penalty kill comes on the ice for the Wild. I'm like, all right, can we save some time here and just give them the goal? Can we just give them the goal so we have more time to try to get that goal back? So, I don't know, just absolutely frustrating to see for the Wild. Maybe even more. What's even more frustrating is my prediction that came off the board this week. I said that Brock Faber will score a goal before next week's episode. He shot the one lone goal in from the point against the Oilers. And then they went back and corrected it and said Freddie Gaudreau was the one that tipped it. So Brock Faber gets the first assist on it, but does not get the goal. So that one is incorrect. As for the Rinkside Rundown, I have 6 correct predictions out of 27 total, and that is good for 35%. As for my 3 predictions that I'm putting on the board this week, 2 of them I'm going to the game tonight. So 2 of them are about the game tonight, and then 1 of them is before next week's episode. So all 3 of them will come off the board before next week's episode. First one is that Kirill will score tonight against the Panthers. The Wild will beat the Panthers by 2 or more goals. And I'm doubling down on this. Brock Faber will score a goal before next week's episode. So Kirill scores specifically against the Panthers tonight. Doesn't matter how many goals. He will score at least 1 goal, though, against the Panthers tonight. The Wild will beat the Panthers by 2 or more. And to double down on it, Brock Faber will score a goal before next week's episode. All right, that'll do it for episode 12 here of the 301 show. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions, comments, concerns. If you agree with anything I said, or if you disagree with anything I said. Let me know down in the comment section, and we will see you for next week's episode. Thank you for watching this one, and we will see you next time.